Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we have an Enel list that I've been doing a lot of playtesting on my streams here on YouTube as well as on Twitch, and a couple of things we do want to start with before we get into it. One, if you guys want to see some more gameplay of this deck, I do have the previous day's VOD here on YouTube for members, as well as I do have another live stream planned today, as of like right now, as of this video drops, so 9 a.m. Central to probably about noon to 1, 3 to 4 hours, but I've been doing a lot of playtesting on my streams and doing it pretty consistently throughout the week too. So usually I start around 1 p.m. Central Time or 1 p.m. EST, and I stream for 3 to 4 hours, and I'll probably continue that until we have the Card Fest at the end of the month. So make sure to look out for that too. But this is what I've been testing with. I've been using the Rank Sim League, which is a new Discord server that has kind of a rank system where essentially you just kind of sign up for a match, you queue in with someone else, you make a private match, and then you report the win, and you kind of adjust your ranking based off that. It's been really cool, and there's another server too that I'm going to be checking out, but highly recommend checking out both of them as well. So that's going to be the Rank Sim League as well as TCG Matchmaking. Links to both their Discords in the description if you want to check it out. But they've been really great for playtesting, and honestly, I found like when you do just random matches in general, like the skill level is kind of a little bit wonky, but like these have been like really consistent players, and I've really enjoyed the games that I've been able to play on those as well. So make sure to check those out as well. But here we have the deck list. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about my run that I had, which I did have a 22-7 run with this deck over about 6 hours or so. I did try to like finish it after like 15 wins, but I said, okay, I'll do one more loss, and I didn't get there for a good 7 or 8 more games. So it's been really good for me. I've really enjoyed this deck, and I think there's some good things about it. And I'm also going to talk about some kind of flexibility spots, because I do think Enel is a deck that has just a lot of kind of card choice options. We're going to talk about a couple other cards at the end too, so you guys can check those out also. But this is just kind of my build, but I do expect most Enel players to say, this is the card I want more of. These are the cards that I like seeing, and kind of adjusting to your play style too, which is pretty much the reason I like Enel, because you do get to make some of these deck building choices that kind of depend on your own kind of play style as well. So I do think that's something really important for it. And then also, like, I did see like a bunch of people on the yellow video that I made a couple days ago, they're saying, okay, we know how to play against yellow now, but we want to know how to play as it. So I wanted to go over with this as well, and kind of see if people are still doing the same kind of mistakes as I've been seeing playing against Enel, and they definitely are, which is, I think, for me as a Enel player potentially at Card Fest finals at the end of the year, that's going to be very good to see the occasional, oh, they misplayed, and I get to take advantage of that, which is really good. So honestly, I think yellow is very solid, and there will be some chances where you just it does give you some free wins every once in a while, which does help you in a competitive setting, even if it's maybe a little bit cheese. I know Enel is a bit of a decisive leader at this moment, but we're going to go over this deck finally. So the card choices for this, we're going to start at the low end. Shura makes sense. We're only running 3 copies because I feel like we see it enough at 3. And this deck list is pretty tight for what it is, but I do like to see this card, and I do like having 6 cards that can be in my life that I can play for free. We also do have like the Sanji and the Satori as well, but these two, being able to use them in conjunction with Katakuri, I think is good. So that's kind of what we want there. So if we want to go second, we have there. Honestly, we can go first or second with this deck, and it mostly just kind of depends on the matchups that we want. We know like stuff like Katakuri, and we know stuff like Sakazuki normally wants to be second, so if we can take that away from them, we have some really good plays for it. Generally, turn 2 Shura into turn 4, 2 Dawn for Shura, then for 4 Dawn we play Ohm, hopefully finding or playing at a Holy, and then after that Gadatsu to really round it out. So I think that's a really good curve for this deck. But also we can do this going first. We can do like a Holy or Shura on turn 2, Gadatsu on turn 3, and that also means we get to play Enel on our 4th turn. So I think that's also a good alternative for us. And again, we just have like this flexibility, which is really nice in a lot of ways. So I think Holy and Ohm is fantastic. You get a lot of free value for it. And I think the only issue that I see with these two is that some people like attacking with them very quickly. You really want to protect your Ohm because you want this to be a 6k. You get so much free value for it. And it's really easy for Enel to go down to 2 or less life in this deck too. So I think that you just make sure you take the first couple hits. Your opponent's probably going to start hitting you pretty quickly. And if you do that, then you're able to not only have a good amount of cards in hand, but you're also able to get this free 4-drop 6k, which gets, I think, a lot of value again. And like these 6ks are I think very good again, since Newgate is not in the meta as much. There's so many 5k attacks that exist that that extra Dawn to invest to try to punish the Ohm gets pretty expensive pretty quickly. So. And that's kind of like there. At the top end, we have 3 Enel. Again, I do like this card. I know a lot of people are not going to say, like, oh, why? Like, people really did say this, like, why aren't you playing 7-drop? Is that a mistake? And honestly, like, they are pretty comparable. This is obviously the Sky Island build of the deck, and there are, I think, variants for like big Mon Pirates if you want to, and I thought originally that one was better, and it still could be, but I did kind of get persuaded that the Sky Island version was just better for what the deck was trying to do. I like the flexibility for it, and I like the searches for this are good, and some of the cards are good for the play style, which is not too surprising because they were made for this leader. But I like Enel more because it does let you go for board more. Charlotte Linlin lets you go kind of for pressure for life more, but I find if we are able to establish board as Enel, it's really hard for us to lose and really difficult for your opponent to reestablish their board when they're kind of behind for that too. So I do like this. I like the protection for it because they're like against Sakazuki, they're going to have a hard time removing this card, and being able to like have a free 7k attack to pressure down the board is in a good spot too. So like most of the time, I like to try to starve out a lot of my opponents from resources. That means I'm not attacking with my leader a lot of the time, at least not attacking with into their leader. That just means there's a lot of cards that get into range for Gadatsu very quickly. It also means that I just get like a lot more card advantage, and they kind of just lose out on advantage. We can clear their board very quickly, and then they kind of have to make this decision of, do they want to play a card, do they want to pressure cards on my board, but they usually can't do both, which means that we do get to go wide, and they're going to have a hard time getting rid of it as well as deleting our leader. So I think that's really important. We're playing 3 copies of Katakuri. Some people are like, why aren't you running 4? I think 3 is fine. I never really found an issue where I felt like I didn't see this enough, or I saw this too many times. It's kind of bricky at times. It's a little bit situational since you need the support for it, but I like the removal for it too. You have to make a decision of when to kind of remove the cards from your opponent's board and when that's more important. But honestly, like, the big brain play is to do this with the idea of Yamato next turn. So putting an extra card in their life means that they have like the Yamato can hit one more higher with its own effect, so that's great in a lot of ways. So it gets kind of like a double removal effect with the Katakuri into Yamato back to back. So I like that. I think 3 is a fine number. I think that this is a good ratio for this. If you want to run 4, go for it. I don't think it's an issue. I just had so many times where it's just like the ratios are really tough for this deck. There's just a lot of different cards we can't be running for it, and I think that this one is pretty, like, it's really tight for this leader. But I also think that's cool because it lets you decide the ways that you play the deck, and you kind of can express your play style a little bit better for that too. And then like Yamato 4, we know that for sure. And then events, I'm running 3 Thunderbolts, 3 copies of 200 million volts, and as well as 2 copies of Althor. And this was fine. I don't think I got like many Thunderbolts from life that were kind of worth it, but I feel like it's always a card we want to run. It also just lets us get rid of a blocker sometimes and go for game, which is really nice. Anything that really can't get hit by 200 million volts, we do get the Thunderbolt hitting for that too, so I think that's fine. Althor is like a little bit of a cheese card, or just like, it's fine. It's fine for what it is. I think 1 or 2 copies is fine. I don't think you should run any more than that. And if you want to find more rooms for things, I think Althor, you can get rid of it pretty easily. I also found that it was pretty easy to end a turn with one Dawn up to leave open for this too. I never found like there were a lot of situations where I had to decide between being offensive or defensive. So it wasn't like a high cost for this leader specifically, especially since we don't have any specific 10 Dawn plays, which with the most being, the amount of times I swung with leader, attacked with Yamato, played a Yamato, and then had one up for Althor was pretty often, and it usually kind of worked out, which is nice. And I don't know, it's just like a good amount of like extra defense, and we have so many ways to discard cards from our hand. We're not really worried about it being stuck there too. So. And then Shirahoshi, this is a personal choice for me. I think a lot of people just do not like this card, and I get it, but I also think that it cycles our hand. That's really great, especially since we can't, find Yamato in any way in this deck, and we want to find Yamato very often. This helps us get there and find pieces that we would need outright. It just kind of fixes your hand. Worst case, it's a 1k counter, and with the fact that we also have 200 million volts in this deck too, sometimes Shirahoshi's attacking. Like, just having another body on board, even if it's just 0 power, will make your opponent terrified. Like that one more attack can sometimes get the math done to kind of get where you're going. So I think it's fine at 3 copies. I do like the 3-3 split between it and the Shura, and it helps us get some cycle and find the pieces that we really need. So I think that's important for it. So other than that, super count or 2K counters are beige, Satori, which should make sense for those two, as well as the Conus. And the reason we're running this is because it's a Sky Island card, and there are some scenarios where, not often but rarely, you want to play the Conus for 1. We can play the Katakuri for 8, put the Conus into our life, and then we're back at 1 life, right? It's a little expensive at 9 Dawn, and we have to like discard a 2K out of our hand to make it work. But Enel at 1 life means you're at 2 life, which is great. And you just want that cycle and that extra defense too. So I like the idea of it, and it really helps out the deck too. So I honestly didn't find any cards I really wanted to switch out. I felt that this deck was really consistent on what it's wanting to do. And the biggest thing is, like, again, the play style. You want to make sure that you are attacking your opponents at the right time. Sometimes you just don't want to hit cards in their life because you do get so much value from them being at 4 compared to them being at 3 life. And the removal from Gadatsu is really important, as well as your Yamato too. So I think that's something that you have to keep in mind. Also, like, sometimes like a random L Thor hits off the top of your life and gets rid of their card. It's like a second copy of Thunderbolt if you're playing the more slow defensive style. And I think how this deck really, you'll probably, if you watch the matches, you'll see like where I find the most success is that I have a board of like 4 or 5 cards out that are 5 or 6K bodies, if not more. And my opponent's going to have to, and your opponent can't attack anywhere except for my leader. And then if they attack with any of their battle cards, then I can just attack into them with mine. So like it's just rough for, I think, like if you're able to build a wide board with this and then establish your big bodies, you kind of have all this tempo and pressure, and your opponent's going to have a hard time choosing either to clear your board or try to play the gamble with getting through Enel's kind of life mechanic. And I think that's something that you benefit from a lot as well. I think the worst matchup for this deck is probably Purple Luffy. They can get a lot of pressure on you pretty quickly. They get out of your removal because they take cards from their own life pretty quickly. And your refresh life mechanic doesn't work as well because, again, they have a lot of cards that are just kind of tricky for you to remove based on them going to 4-3 life very quickly in their own right. So I think that's something that I'm not really sure how I would tech against those decks right now with the cards that we have available to us, but it's something that I've been knowing, and it's just really tough. It is, I think, one of the tougher matchups for us, but I think Sakazuki is really obtainable with this one too. So this is my 50. Now some additional cards I've thought about as well, mostly just Big Mom Pirate cards. And if you want to make the Big Mom version of this, I don't think it's the wrong choice. I just don't like it as much currently. I just feel like it's a little bit less consistent. It probably is a little bit more high rolly, but there's also a lot of times where it's not the same consistency that I'm really looking for. I think the main thing for that is the 7-drop Linlin. I think a lot of people swear by this card, and with when you play this card on curve, it's a huge menace. It's a huge problem. It's a 7-drop 8K. The fact that you either heal one or you get to deal some damage is really good. And I think the biggest issue with this card is that the healing one for you can sometimes be a negative effect, where you really want, instead of like the life gain, more times than not, I feel like I like the Enel more because it can pressure cards on board, or it can pressure cards in my opponent's life, right? It's not trashing it, but just the fact that we get another attack out, the fact that we can still be at 2 life, so our Ohm is at a 6K body, I think is good. And we can also put out a board, put some pressure on board, put a card on board, put pressure on board, and without taking our opponent's life down. If they're at 3 life and I'm at 1, and I want to be able to Yamato next turn a 4-drop, playing Linlin will not let me do that, right? Unless they choose to heal you, which is a 50-50, right? And I think most people would probably burn their own life knowing that the range for things is what it is. So again, that's why I like Enel more. That's why I'm not playing 7-drop Linlin. And by and large, I'm not really missing seeing this card personally, but that can be your own choice there. Other than that, some other just Big Mom Pirate cards. Brule, just more blockers you can get off life, I think are fine. Perospero, and putting specifically if you're running enough of the Big Mom Pirates to find them consistently, they are worth it in their own regard. And then 2 cards that I think could be put in the deck too without running more of the Big Mom package are the Katakuri, which I've been really tempted to play this card. It's not terrible. It's a 4-drop 6k. You get a look at the top card of either player's life, which can include your own, which can be helpful for, stacking it at the right time if you need to. And more times than not, you're going to be at less life than your opponent. So it's kind of like a mini version of Enel, which is really nice. I just haven't had testing with it, nor have I really, I don't really know what I'd take out for it. Maybe like maybe one Enel and like maybe one Gadatsu to do so, but I do like those cards a lot as is. And then also Charlotte Cracker. This card can just like win you the game by itself sometimes, especially if you're always going to be behind. It's a free 6k body because of that more times than not, and it can pressure your opponent for the double attack. And also, if this card's out there, your opponent's going to probably prioritize trying to get rid of it instead of hitting your life, and that means they're attacking to a 6k body more than your own life, which is also very good. So that's fine. I don't know what I'd put it in for. I don't really feel like I have a lot of room again, but it's a card I've been thinking about, and it's just very strong in its own right. So I don't think, honestly, I think there's a lot of ways to build this deck. I think there's a lot of ways for like gameplay wise and different tactics for it, but Enel is definitely a deck that's flexible enough, and I feel like it approaches a lot of different matchups very differently, which, again, on the surface, it makes it look like the deck is very linear in its plays, but I also do think that there are some decision-makings and there are some intricacies with the deck that make it really complex from a player level, which I've been really enjoying playing with. So that's kind of it for that one. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys want me to do any deep dives with other leaders, let me know. I'll probably play Enel up to today, and then I'll probably later in the week maybe switch to a different leader to try to do some more ranked sim testing with. But it's been a lot of fun. I've been finding, again, a lot of success, and that's kind of the video for you guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any more comments, let me know. And that's going to be it for me. So again, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.
Damn it. Damn it.